Greetings, I am Tom Moreau. On this week's episode, we talk authenticity, personal branding, and flawesomeness with Dr. Natalia Wiechowski. Check it out. Woo! Greetings, I am Tom Moreau. And this is my year of adventure. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment you are valued, you are loved, and you are appreciated just as you are. As you can see, I am not alone. I have an amazing guest. She goes by the name of Dr. Natalia Wiechowski. How's it going today?
Thank you so much, Tom. I mean, it's been a fantastic day, and I look forward to having a beautiful and fun and profound conversation with you.
I appreciate that, and I thank you so much for already sharing your energy with us and being here with us today.
Oh, you're most welcome. Let's do this.
Yes. Do you mind if I introduce you to the folks out there via reading a part of your awesome bio?
Oh, I would be honored.
Dr. Natalia Wiechowski's aim is to develop and bring together a tribe of 1 million out-of-the-box thinkers and doers who do not only challenge but also change the status quo. Natalia consults and speaks globally, comes from Hanover, Germany, and lives in Dubai. She edutained on conferences and events from all over the world. She started as a social scientist, turned into a doctor of philosophy, a LinkedIn marketing unicorn, a Forbes Coach Council member, top expert, a LinkedIn learning author, and the Middle East leading edutainer. Books, food, exploring new places, self-improvement, music, dance, stuff that glitters, unicorns, and ticking things off her to-do list make her happy. That's what's up.
Yeah, that describes me pretty well, especially the unicorns and the glitter stuff. Ooh, and if I could have that with food, I'm a happy one.
I love it. So we always like to start the interview by saying, as much as, I'm hearing you say the bio captures you really well, there's some things about you we'll never learn from a bio, right? So what, if we really knew you, if we were your friend, if we were somebody that was hanging out with you all the time, what's something about you that we could never learn from your bio?
A lot of people don't know that I was a professional dancer for over 10 years. So my family is a very, very athletic family. My mom was an ice skater, and my dad used to be a ski teacher in a certain phase of his life. So I think I came I was born and then I was crawling. And I think the next thing that I learned was, me being on skis and then me being in ice skates and then me driving a bicycle. And then I tried badminton and then I was swimming and then I was like, So, I'm a very athletic person and I tried a lot of things, but I realized that dance is my thing. I love the stage. I love to express myself through dance. And I did that, I was a background dancer for a few years, and I was also participating in competitive sports. So we were a team and we were dancing on German championships and European championships and World Cups. And we were training up to six times per week. So yeah, I think this is where the edutainer thing comes from. But that's something I stopped a long time ago. And I think 2020 is the time to go back to it. So stay tuned.
You heard it first here, folks. I love that. I can't wait. My daughter's 6 months right now, and I can't wait to teach her how to ice skate. Definitely one of my, right away, you're going to learn how to skate. So
I love that. Yeah. So when they're small, they soak up everything like a sponge. And when they fall, it's not so painful because they're so tiny and they don't weigh anything. So I think that will also have such huge positive impact on her mindset and her ability to fail and to learn and grow through it.
Yes, I like it. And then we got it recorded because I'm pushing hard for her to play hockey. So we heard it. We heard it from you right away. And speaking of, how would you like to be referred to? Dr. Natalia, Dr. Wiechowski, how do you like people to address you as we're getting to know you today?
Well, the majority of my friends call me either Nat or Dr. Nat or Natalia. So literally choose whatever you prefer. I'm super easygoing with that.
All right. We'll try to throw them all into the mix. We'll see how they all land.
Fair enough. Play with it and figure out what you like or resonate with the most.
There we go. So it sounds like you have quite an extraordinary origin story, that you've taken many twists and turns along the way. So why don't you kind of, the Google, where you can drop the Google person onto the map and like zoom, now it gets you that street looks like. Why don't you drop us onto the part of your life where you think it's best to kind of start with sharing us how you came to be all of these great titles, the LinkedIn marketing unicorn, edutaining all across the world. Take us back. Where did that begin?
I think it began with my first job. So I studied social science, and I had the focus, or I studied social science with a focus on sociology. And when you are a social scientist, the job doesn't exist for you. When you study medicine, you will very likely become a medical doctor. When you study law, you'll become a lawyer. When you study architecture, you're becoming an architect. But as a social scientist, people end up in marketing, people end up in HR, people end up in nonprofit organization, people end up in, I don't know, like literally anything. And especially in Germany, the social status, or the way how people perceive social scientists and sociologists, is not as high as in the US or UK. So a lot of people in Germany always joke that, yeah, you're going to end up as a taxi driver. Ooh. Which I find not so nice towards the taxi drivers, but I asked myself, okay, fine, so what on earth am I going to do? So I got the opportunity to work in the UAE, so to leave Germany and to start working in a project in an educational institute, and my job was to set up a library from scratch. Did that for 3.5 years. Then I realized, working for the government is fine, but it's not for me. I was 23. I was too competitive. I still wanted to go out and achieve stuff. And that's kind of a job that you can have when you're, with all my respect, and I don't mean that in a negative way, if you're more in your late 40s, beginning of 50s, and you're not a very ambitious person, and your job is not very important to you. It's just the way how you are. No judgment, that's just how you are. Fine. Cool. Okay. So then I moved into the private economy and worked in marketing for 2.5 years. And I did that in the logistics industry. Okay, fine. Great. I did that for 2.5 years, and my team and I, we were on the covers of the leading magazines, and we won excellence awards, and I had a fancy sport car because, I'm originally German, and we Germans, we love our cars. So I was like, yeah, finally have my German car. Nice. Amazing. But that didn't make me happy. And I had wonderful friends, and I was living in Dubai, and I was celebrating the best parties and brunches and on a yacht, and we were shopping, and I had literally the closet full of handbags and shoes, and some of my friends were joking it's like Sex in the City, but not in New York, but in Dubai. And I think that was kind of true as well. But again, that didn't make me happy, and I didn't feel successful. So at the age of 29, when I saw the 30 on the horizon, like, oh, hello, I was like, I hate myself, and I hate my career, and I hate life, and do I want too much? And I don't know what's going on. So to cut a long story short, I quit my job. I locked myself away for 9 months. And I need to say that I didn't have any kids that I needed to feed. I didn't have any debts. I didn't have any credit card bills. I had enough money in my bank account that I could finance the next 9 months of living without making any money. And, during that sabbatical, I asked myself a lot of questions. Who am I? What do I want? What makes me happy? What am I good at? How do I want to live? How do I want to work? With whom do I want to work? And I created a long list of all the things that I always wanted to do, applied them, tested them. And I always say I literally failed and experimented myself up to my dream lifestyle and career of purpose. And that, after 6 years or 5 years, turned into doing what I do today, being a keynote speaker, being a personal branding strategist, a LinkedIn marketing unicorn, and an author. But it was a lot of trial and error, and it was a long journey, and I made tons of mistakes, but I would do it again and again and again because it was the best thing that ever happened in my life. I became a different person. I learned how to meditate. I changed the way how I speak, how I eat, how I talk. I kicked out a lot of people out of my life because we didn't have similar values, or I had the feeling that what we had in common was just not profound enough for me, and that I was ready to evolve to the next level, whatever that meant.
So take us back to though when you were 29, right before you did the sabbatical, because you made like you're like you said it in a very fun way. Was it a fun? Were you like, I got this? Were you feeling super excited? Was it very light? Can you kind of talk to us about, because I could be wrong, but I imagine especially with the way COVID's disrupted people's lives, we have some people who may have lost a dream job. We have some people who were able to work from home from a job they hated and are having to go back now. You know, I think people are at a lot of places where they might about to be going through or are going through kind of that period. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And to start in the beginning, I mean, I was a mess. I was not only emotionally sick, I was physically sick. And when I look at it from today's lens or out of today's perspective, I fully believe in what Tony Robbins once said, that change is pain, and people only change when, let me get that right, when the pain of staying the same is bigger than the pain of change. That means you need to suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer until you hit that level, and that's different for every person, where you say, enough, I just can't take this anymore. And where you allow yourself to live a little bit nicer and lighter and be kinder to yourself. So I was literally in, the hospital twice per month with like heavy pain, and my body was reacting in a weird way. And I went from doctor to doctor, and they tested everything, and they said, listen, we did everything. We don't know what it is, but it's there, but we don't know where it comes from. And maybe you also play a part of that. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And they told me, like, but you need to do something, because this is not healthy, and this could end up in a chronic disease, and a chronic disease could totally screw up your life. And what happens after that, we don't know. What, cancer? I'm like, whoa, I'm 29. Now, come on. I don't want this reality talk. So I went home and I thought a lot about it, and I didn't tell anybody, but I let this secret prayer or wish or thought out towards something, because I'm not a religious person, and back then I also wasn't spiritual. For me, spirituality was this yogi, woo-woo, airy, fairy stuff. So, but I was so down, and I felt so low and so depressed that I said, I can't do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I do understand why people decide to quit their own life, although I would not do that. But I do understand, because when everything is pain and everything is dark and nothing makes sense, and you hate yourself and your job and everything is blah, but I need help. Show me, give me a sign, whatever. I just can't do it anymore. And then a few days after that, I saw a post on Facebook that said, the pain that you're going through is self-created. And that was like as if somebody would take a basketball, how do you call it? Like this wooden basketball stick or
baseball bat?
Baseball bat, there you go. And would just smash it against my head. And I was like, whoa, what did I just read? And that was game-changing for me, because I understood that I'm creating this pain. There's no way that I can blame the economy, other people, my friends, my family, my gender, my skin color, my whatever. It's me. That means I need to take responsibility, which was, again, something I didn't want to hear. And I found it incredibly painful. But it showed me that I'm not this passive victim that needs to wait for a hero to save her. I need to be my own hero. And I was like, ugh, okay, I have no clue how to do that. And then a few days after that, I learned about another quote that came from Gandhi, who said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And that one really resonated with me because I'm a very sensitive person. And since I'm a child, I'm like, oh, the world is terrible, and we're killing the oceans, and we're killing animals, and why are people so negative? Oh, my poor mom, she had to listen to all of that. And then, like with that Gandhi quote, the question was so brilliant because it was, so what on earth do you want for the world? So if you want to be the change in the world, how does the perfect world look like? What is it that you want? How can you contribute to this world? And that made me think a lot. And this is when I started studying the philosophies of other cultures, when I started reading a lot about North American authors and business gurus and entrepreneurs, because I always like the American or North American way of thinking more than the German one. There is a cultural difference in how these two cultures deal with failure and with growth mindset and with looking at life and with marketing yourself. So I looked over and then I decided, you know what? Let's do this. Let's learn from the best out there and let's test all of that. Let's apply it to this sick, crazy, little negative, depressed something. And if that works, then, well, I have a deal with whoever's up there. I'm going to teach everybody who wants to learn it. So you help me, I help you, and through that the world. Deal? Boom, deal done. And that's how the whole journey started.
Do you remember any of the books or authors or things you read during that time that were really transformative?
Yeah. Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. Insane. Helped me a lot. Robin Sharma, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Amazing. So that was another book. During that time, I watched so many Tony Robbins videos and just read his whole content. That's the time when also people like Lewis Howes tapped into my life, who taught me the concept of a lifestyle entrepreneur, which had also a huge impact on me. Yeah. And then I joined Toastmasters International, who was a whole different, it was an organization that really showed me that you can start from here and, become the person that you want to be in a skill or in an art, public speaking. That is the biggest fear for people on this planet, me included. So I think these were the biggest influences during that time.
So then when did you start to get the aha or calling or inclination of what you wanted to do next?
I think it was never really clear or sharp. So I decided, okay, cool. I do the sabbatical, I go on to sabbatical, and during the sabbatical, I really want answers. I want answers like, what makes me happy? What am I good at? What am I successful at? Fine. So that I have the feeling that I really got rid of all the negativities and the past and whatever. And I worked with healers and shamans and therapists and Buddhist monks. And I was also, 10 days in a retreat where I did Vipassana meditations in 10 days, not speaking to people, meditating for around 10 hours per day and all of that. And when I went on a sabbatical, after just a couple of months, I realized I needed a blog because I needed to express myself. And my old friends, they were like, you always want so much and you always so positive. And that's so annoying. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's just in me. And maybe that's something good. I don't know. We'll see. So I did that blog, and it was helpful for me because it also had a therapeutic effect, and some people were reading it. And then the next big step that I can remember is that one of my friends said, yeah, a blog is nice, but you know that nobody reads blogs nowadays. You need to become a speaker. This is when I joined Toastmasters. This is when I started speaking. I trained my speaking for 1.5 years before I got my first big paid speaking gig. And it was funny because the Toastmasters, you train speeches that are 5 or 7 minutes long. And then the company hired me for a 1.5 hour speech. And they paid me a huge amount of money. And I was like, I don't know how to speak for 1.5 hours. But I somehow did it. And for me, that feeling being on a stage and helping students and teaching them how to build a personal brand, to be found, to get better job opportunities was incredibly fulfilling. So that was a huge chapter. And I think another situation that really then got me towards this LinkedIn personal branding thing was when one of the participants of Toastmasters, who also was a friend, she approached me one day and said, here, I have this book and it's super thick and don't have time to read it, but that's what you do anyway. Can you read that book and then teach me everything that is in it? And I learned from Richard Branson, if you're not ready, say yes and figure it out later on. So I had a look at the book and it said impression management, which is another term for personal branding. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I do. Yeah. So how much time do I have? And she's like, yeah, so like 3 weeks, maybe a month. So I was like, okay, fine. So I started reading the book, and that book was so profound. It was from a German professor, and he basically used his knowledge as a social scientist and his understanding of society, combined it with Shakespeare, what if life is just a stage and you need the applause of other people to make the most out of your life, and then showed what kind of things we can do in order to achieve our goals. And then I was totally fascinated about LinkedIn and Instagram. It's like, if I throw all of this together, I put it all into a huge pot, and I maybe read a little bit more about this and read a little bit more about this makes sense. And I can build a business around that. So that was another huge point. And this is then when I, went out and tested all of it. And at a certain stage said goodbye to Instagram, because I realized there are just too many coaches and people who teach Instagram. And I realized that teaching people how to do public speaking is nice, but I need to be there in person and I want to work more from home. So this is how this portfolio got down to this. And then it was all about personal branding and LinkedIn, and the rest is history.
I love it. And we're gonna jump into the branding and the LinkedIn tactics and tools, if you don't mind. But first, I just want to ask a couple questions before we kind of move on from the mindset part. One is, so I noticed right away in some of the things you were saying, like you're saying, no, I feel like people disrespect taxi drivers when they say this, or no disrespect to people who want this job, or a couple things throughout the interview. You've demonstrated your ability to put yourself in other people's shoes and imagine how they might feel about that. And so I heard you use the word, I've always been sensitive. For me, that sounds like empathy. Can you talk a little bit about, I just would love to hear your reflections upon that characteristic, because I think it's a really important quality in a leader. And so I think it's always helpful for people to hear someone who's, has achieved both happiness and success talk about it.
Yeah, I would love to. So for me, learning how to meditate was incredibly eye-opening. So my brand is called Think Natalia, which shows that thinking is one of my biggest assets. Fantastic. But it's also one of my biggest flaws. Because thinking is great, but I think our society puts it on a pedestal as about the big thinkers and about the big poets. And they're important. They're amazing. We wouldn't be where we are as a civilization without these people. And I love thinking. I love to figure stuff out. I love to create. But if you want to live a balanced and successful life, you need to go one step before that. And that is being. And there is a big difference between living and merely existing. Again, Shakespeare. But the essence of it is being alive and being. And that is only possible if you are, now we go towards ekatole, in the now, in the here and now. The way how we have been socialized, brainwashed, use whatever word you want to use, is that we're continuously either in the future worrying about something that's going to happen or not going to happen. And 99% of the stuff that we make up in our mind is never going to happen. Or we dwell in the past and beat ourselves up for something that we do or didn't do. So being in the here and now is incredibly difficult. So that's something that we human beings are challenged with, or that's something that we needed to learn. And that's something that helped me to slow down, to reflect, and to observe my own feelings, to observe my own thoughts. And this is when I realized that there is an entity in me, some people call it ego, that continuously need to judge. She's fat, he's ugly, that's stupid, that's pretty, I don't like this, oh, that's nice. So it's continuously me, and the other one. So it's kind of disconnecting with everything else and continuously make sure that I am who I am, whatever that even means. And there are the others. And then there's this normal idea, and everything else that is unnormal is bad. So I realized with a lot of reflection that this is toxic. And this is the reason why there's so much hate and anger and war and being aggressive and all of that out there, because we can't be in the now and we cannot not judge. I mean, a specific level of judgment is important, because without it, we wouldn't be able to survive. That's deeply wired into our primitive part of the brain, because you need to know, is that dangerous? Am I going to die? Yes or no? If you would take that away from us, we wouldn't survive as a species. But then there is another layer of judgment that has nothing to do with like survival instinct, but it's more on a maybe cultural level, or however you call that. And that is not helpful. So I trained myself to give my best to see a human being as a human being. And I don't care about your gender, your skin color, religion, whatever, you are a human being. And this is based in the belief that we're all kind and that we all want to grow, and we don't want to grow, but we all are kind in the depth of our heart. And the only thing that we want is to be loved and have a good time and sing and dance, and ideally do that naked and get drunk, I think is part of us. But this is just who human beings are. And when you look across continents over years and 10,000 of years, that's what makes us human. So if we all could be a little bit more human and judge a little bit less, and it's difficult because, again, of the way how we have been socialized, but give your best every day to be a little bit less judgmental towards others and against yourself, like towards yourself, because very often how we judge others had also something to do with how we judge ourselves. And we are so hard on others because we're so hard on ourselves. So be kinder towards yourself, be more compassionate towards yourself, and then give your best to also do that towards other people. And you won't believe what kind of beautiful effect that will have on your own energy level, on your own feeling of abundance, on your health, on your mood, on the opportunities that will come into your life. And it's really true. You don't need to be religious. You don't need to be spiritual. This is kind of like the law of vibration or physics or whatever you want to call that. And yeah, if people would understand that more, we would have a better way of living and a better world.
I love that. I love that. So much gems in there. So last question before then we're going to move on to the tactical stuff. What is your mindset routine now, or rituals or practices that ensures that, because it sounded like in your previous career in your 20s, you achieved massive success, but you were unhappy. And right now you're achieving massive success. How do you ensure that you are also achieving the happiness and the success, and that it's all staying in synchrony? What are some routines or rituals that you do to ensure that?
Sure. I think the most important point is that people understand that happiness means something different for every person, and success means something different for every person. And when you don't figure that out for yourself, you will continuously run after people, job, relationships, external stuff, until you finally find out what it is that you want. And this whole thing works on the inside. So you need to figure it out what it is for yourself. So based on that, you need to know your values, and you need to know what you're good at. So this is the absolute foundation. So I'm obsessed with growth and learning. So that are some of my key values, but also working with like badass people and achieving stuff together is incredibly important. So I work 5 days a week, and I have a very, very strict schedule. So I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the first hour, 6 till 7, is meditation time. So no matter what happens, I meditate. If I want to meditate 20 minutes, fine. If I want to meditate 45 minutes, fine. Even if I want to meditate 70 minutes because I feel anxiety, or I have so much anger or resentment towards a person, situation, whatever it came up, fine, I meditate. Cool. Then I have an hour time slot in which I quickly check my emails and my social media channels and see, is there a disaster, is anything burning, what do I need to delegate? So my team and the people who work for me, they're all set. They can go out there and do their magic. I don't work or like execute things on my own yet. I just delegate, eliminate, and say, oh, we need to fix this. Cool. Everybody's briefed, everybody can do stuff. Then I'll go back into my little bubble again. And for the next 1 or 2 hours, I learn something new. It could be reading a book, listening to a podcast episode. It could be working through an online course. But this way, I make sure that I always stay on top of my game. And it's different things. Like sometimes I want to learn more about relationships. Sometimes I want to learn more about LinkedIn marketing. Sometimes I want to learn more about how to become even more successful. Sometimes I want to learn something about, I don't know, the Buddha, whatever. So it's not always business related. It can be different things in life, because I think life is a circle and there are different aspects of life. And, you know, when you don't make sure that they all get love and attention, you are going to be unhappy. So you need to look after your body. You need to look after your spirit. You need to, family, relationships, sexuality, success, all of that stuff. When that is done, I work very, very focused for the next 2 hours. So this is when I really write offers, make sure that everything where I need to be in my bubble and execute is like done. Answering messages on social media, stuff that my social media coordinator didn't do, or left for me. Then I have a quick break and I do some high intensity interval training, because if I don't do it in the morning, I will not do it in the evening. And then I have my lunch break. I do intermittent fasting, so I only eat between 12 till 8. That works a lot for me. And and then in the afternoon, depending on the day, I either have 30-minute calls, e-meetings, whatever, or I have 45 minutes calls, slots, meetings, which is then usually podcast interviews, whatever. And then the last hour of the day, between 6 and 7, I have a little bit of a review. So how was my day? What was good? What was bad? Where do I BS myself? Where do I need to be better? What is it that I really, really need to do? So this routine works pretty well for me, like 5 days a week. On the weekends, I make sure that I spend more time on the outside, that I meet up with friends, that I plan my next week. I'm a person, I always plan my weeks, so that's incredibly important. Something that I forgot, at the end of the day, so between 6 and 7, yeah, exactly, most probably 6 and 7, I use the time to cook. So I'm a big fan of cooking, and I believe when you have your own food and when you interact with your food, you're also eating healthier. So that's something that I do. And yeah, I learned that setting boundaries and saying no in a kind and diplomatic way is incredibly important. And I needed to learn that. It's not something that came in easily, but I can highly recommend that you design your own routine and your own structure, and something that is, again, based on your values, on your goals, and what you want to achieve. So there's no right or wrong. Test it. If you don't like it, throw it away. Go for a new model, and eventually you're going to develop the routine that serves you.
So let's get to some of the tactical stuff, because I always start with people, even someone who's a genius like you at everything you do with the branding, with the LinkedIn. And it's like, I want to talk about all of that kind of stuff. But we talked about beforehand that a lot of that stuff, yes, yourself, right? But you can Google a lot of that stuff too. And I'm not minimizing any of the work that you're doing. But the operator, the execution is really the part that a lot of people then struggle with. And so I always want to give them some blueprints, some examples of ways people are like operating inside leading up to execution, so that when we start to talk about the execution part, they have that. So let's talk about, what does it mean to brand yourself, or what is branding in the year 2020?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about individuals, we need to talk about personal branding. And I think it was Jeff Bezos who said that your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And Seth Godin said something beautiful like, your brand is your story and how you talk and how you speak and how you walk and how you make people feel and all of that. And I'm paraphrasing here. That's not the original sentence. But he said all of that has then an impact on the decision, will that person buy from me? So in the end, people don't buy from businesses or from brands. They buy from people. They buy from charismatic people. They buy from inspiring people. And they buy from people with a character. And now, some people say, okay, well, I thought I don't have a personal brand, but now I understood, okay, I have a personal brand. So why do I need to do it? Because people are judgmental because we just talked about it. And if you don't take the reins of leadership into your hand and actively shape or steer your personal brand, the perceptions of you online and offline, then other people will do that for you. And not everybody is a kind-hearted, beautiful person. So they might say nasty stuff about you, or they might not have the time to truly reflect and understand who you are. So what they say about you and the way how they talk about you to their friends and their social network might not be, again, who you really are or how you want to be perceived. So make sure that you really design a personal brand or shape it, steer it in a way that serves you. So you need to understand, why do I want to work on that personal brand? What is my goal? Do I want to find a new job? Do I want to get more clients? Do I want to be seen as the global expert in my team? Do I want to make the world a better place? What is my goal? Because if you don't have a goal, or call it a vision, then you're not going to execute. And this is something that a lot of people forget. So before we talk about LinkedIn profile optimization or how do I make an epic brand, why? What's your goal? If you don't have that, then invest in a handful of sessions with a performance coach, career coach, life coach, whatever. Figure out your why, understand your values, and then you need to really, really design how would I call that? It's in the end, it's positioning. So what kind of problems do you solve? For whom? What is the end result? And ideally also, how long does it take? And if you really want to go the extra mile, why should I do that with you or buy from you? Because there's so many other people out there and service providers. If you can answer these 5 questions, you will already stand out in the market. And it doesn't matter if we talk about the dating market or about the job market or whatever, right? So you need to stand out of the gray masses. And you can only do that when you have a clear message and when you have clear values and when you have a clear why. So get this foundational work right, and then choose any social media platform, especially when you want to use social media to, again, get more visibility, generate leads, get more customers, inspire people. Figure out which social media platform is the platform that the majority of your clients use, and then go all in there, optimize your profile so that people understand who you are, what you do for whom, whatever, and then go 1000% into content. Turn into a content creator. And about that topic, I could talk an hour.
What do you think is the number one mistake people are making on LinkedIn? And what do you think is the number one thing they could start doing that would make the biggest difference?
I think a lot of people believe that their LinkedIn profile is an online CV, and that's true. I rather see it as a web page or as a landing page or as a shop window. So you need to make sure that people spend a lot of time on your profile. You need to turn it into a source for others. Tell your story, use videos, documents, and use photos and videos and whatever it is, so that I get to know you, that I spent a lot of time there, that I have the feeling like, yeah, that's a cool person. I might connect with him or her. So that is very, very important. Like, change the way how you think. And then there are a lot of individuals who just connect with people that they only met in real life. So they're afraid to approach other people, which come on. It's the world's biggest international networking platform. Reach out to people that you would like to have in your network, and come from the perspective of, how can I serve you? How can I help you? So this is also incredibly important, that you don't need to know people in person in order to reach out to them. But when you reach out, please don't pitch your services or products in the contact request message. Also send a message. Like a lot of people just click connect, and I'm like, who are you? What do you want? How can I be of service? Like, I don't think we have a lot in common. You don't look like a client. You don't look like somebody that I know or that I met. You live in a country which is rather collectively thinking. So my concept of personal branding, where the individual is in its focus, I'm not sure if you even intellectually grasp that. And I don't want to be mean, but I truly mean it. Like I don't think it works, and I don't know your culture, so I wouldn't be the right guide for you. So tell people why you want to connect with them, and see a way how you can add value to their life, and that will make a big difference. Number one, optimize the LinkedIn profile, turn it into a landing page or shop window, and then reach out to people, even if you don't know them. But please tell them why you want to connect with them, and then start having conversations. This is where the magic then starts.
So I love that. I love that. So I know we're running out of time. And so folks, if they're starting to be interested in using LinkedIn, where can they connect with you? Where can they learn more about LinkedIn tactics, tools? Where can they follow you? Where can they do all that kind of stuff?
So the easiest way is to actually connect with me on LinkedIn, because that's my major platform. I've also recently published a book. It's called Personal Branding with LinkedIn. It's available on Amazon.com. So in there, I really dig deeper and talk more about the questions that we talked about. What is personal branding? Why personal branding? Why LinkedIn and not Instagram or Facebook? And what are the concrete steps that I need to take in order to become the go-to expert in my field, in the perception of other people. If it's not the book, if it's not LinkedIn, then I'm also Instagram. They find me on @ThinkNatalia.
Perfect. That's how I came across you on Instagram. And I DM'd your team. Was like, I really want to interview her.
Thanks so much for reaching out. I appreciate that.
Of course. And so, on that, folks, if you didn't get a chance to write those down, show notes today, TomRell.com/Natalia, TomRell.com/NATALIA. If you are trying to remember how to spell it, it's all A's. TomRell.com/NATALIA, TomRell.com/Natalia. We'll have the LinkedIn, the book, and the Instagram linked in the show notes so you can connect. Let Natalia know how much you appreciated this. Thank her so that she, feels the love and support from all that she shared with us today. I want to thank you so much for taking the leap of faith, saying yes, coming on the show, sharing your gifts and time with us. It truly means the world to me. I want to thank you so much, Natalia, for doing that for us. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tom. It was a pleasure, and we definitely keep in touch.
Yes, agreed. So our closing ritual is for you to share an invitation with the folks who are listening. So what is your invitation? And what would you like to invite them to do, to consider, to be, to evolve into? What's your invitation?
My invitation is to be more flawsome. I regularly introduce myself as a flawsome human being, and I believe that authenticity is the new perfection. So let's all understand that nobody's perfect, that perfection is an illusion, and that it's the source of so much pain and suffering. So give your best every day, and what's your best today might not be your best tomorrow, and might not be the best, from yesterday. But if you truly, honestly look into the mirror every day and say, I just give my best for today, and I'll push a little bit harder, but I don't kill myself in the process, and I forgive myself. I think that's a very beautiful foundation for a successful, happy, and balanced life.
You got to break that down for us, though. What's flawsome?
Also, it's a mix between full of flaws and awesome. So you know that you're not perfect and you make mistakes, but you owe them, and you don't apologize for them. You know that you're human, and that it's part of human nature to make mistakes and to have flaws. And that's the only way how you grow, through making mistakes. And a lot of mistakes that I know of, they're not made on purpose. It's because people didn't know, or they didn't communicate clearly. And that mindset helped me a lot.
I love that. Natalia, I'd love to have you back on the show where we can jump into this stuff a little bit more deep later on down the road, because so much here, we could have gone on for another 2 hours. I know it for sure. So thank you once again for joining us. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all that you shared.
Thank you. And get well soon, and we keep in touch.
Yes, definitely. And to all of those who are listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.